Joining us now is Mark Spooner. He's the author of FairfaxSchoolsMonitor.com. Mark, good to have you with us, sir.
I'm glad to be with you.
Okay, so we've got a big meeting going on in Fairfax County tomorrow night. What is it all about?
Well, let me first give you just a minute or so of background.
Okay.
The Fairfax County School Board has a community advisory committee called the Family Life Education Community Advisory Committee, mouthful, abbreviated FLECAC. And its purpose is to make recommendations about the sex education curriculum in the schools. This committee isn't representative of the community. Its members are appointed by the school board members, who are all very progressive.
Yep.
And they appoint people who reflect their outlook. Now, lately, this committee seems to be laser focused on promoting more extreme transgender policies. And I should say that Fairfax County Public Schools already has one of the most pro-trans policies in the nation. It favors biological males in girls' sports, biological males in girls' locker rooms, bathrooms, and even hotel rooms on field trips. If the girls object, they have to find the alternative. The biological male has the absolute right to use the girls' facility. The pronoun policing is involved in the policy, and there's support for gender transitioning without parental consent.
Mm-hmm.
The attitude in the school system seems to be that the desires of this tiny minority should have priority over the rights of everybody else, including the rights of parents to control the upbringing of their kids. But that never seems to be enough. The demands are relentless. For example, last year, the committee urged the school board to combine boys and girls in the same sex ed classes where they had previously been separated. For example, in classes about body changes during puberty.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the motivation for doing this? Well, there might be one child in the school who's experiencing gender dysphoria, who didn't want to choose whether to attend the boys' class or the girls' class. So the solution was to throw everybody together. The school board conducted a community survey about this, and an overwhelming 85% of the respondents, including teachers, parents, students, opposed what the FLECAC proposal was.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? The school system rejected the results and has gone forward with gender-combined classes.
They rammed it through anyway, despite the community opposing it.
Right.
So what's on the menu tomorrow then? What are you tackling tomorrow night?
This year, the agenda is to start teaching young kids about gender identity in early elementary grades. I don't know why parents would want this for their kids at ages where the kids are thinking about being pirates or princesses. The gender extremists want to teach that boys might be potential princesses and vice versa.
Do you know what grades you're thinking? You said early elementary. Does that how early are they talking?
Yes. At the December meeting, which was the last meeting because the January one was canceled due to the weather, there was a proposal by some of the committee members to start teaching about gender identity in the third grade. And that's going to be discussed at this committee meeting tomorrow. Now, you said it's a big meeting. It may be a big meeting, assuming the weather doesn't cancel it.
Mm-hmm.
But ordinarily, these committee meetings are under the radar. Hardly anybody usually attends them. They're, in the evening at the school headquarters. I mean, people are entitled to attend, but people are busy and generally don't. So these proposals usually become fait accompli in terms of their recommendations to the school board before anybody pays attention. But this year, people are paying attention, and there's been quite a bit of publicity. And I have a feeling that quite a number of people may turn up at the meeting to, pay attention to what's actually going on.
I hope they do, because what you're telling me is that Fairfax County is contemplating grooming children as young as 8 years old. That's third grade. And telling them that they were born in the wrong bodies. This is not an academic exercise. This is a radical left-wing destructive exercise at the expense of the children who've been entrusted into their care. And so as it stands now, if parents don't show up to protest this, if community members don't show up to protest this effort, is it your view, Mark, that they will once again ram this through?
Yeah, generally, the school board pretty much rubber stamps what the committee recommends. And if they go forward and recommend teaching about gender identity in third grade or even fifth grade, I suspect that the school board would put it through. I mean, after all, they ignored what 85% of the respondents said in a community survey last year on another proposal. I mean, the proposals just seem to be relentless. It's not enough, to respect everybody for who they are. It's not enough to adopt measures to adopt bullying. This group seems to be intent on making the rights of everybody else subservient to what they want, and they just seem relentless.
Mark, President Trump has signed a number of executive orders indicating that this type of radical gender ideology and the type of bigotry that the left has been advancing by judging people on the basis of their race, it needs to be purged from the schools, because the schools are supposed to be about education, academics, reading, writing, arithmetic, and not these types of concepts that are designed to divide people against themselves, even if they start becoming convinced that they're born in the wrong body. What's on the line is federal funding. President Trump says he's going to remove federal funding from these institutions if they continue to abuse children in this way. Do you think Fairfax cares about that? How are they reacting to it?
Well, I think their attitude is that they will fight it as long as they can. Before any federal funding would be removed, there would inevitably be litigation, and that litigation could drag on for some time. I checked the other day that Fairfax County currently receives about $50 million a year in federal funding. That's only about 1.5% of the overall school budget, which measures about $3.8 billion per year. But it's still a lot of money. So if the administration follows through with its threat, I think Fairfax County and some of the other D.C. area counties like Loudoun County, Virginia, and Montgomery County, Maryland, would be prime targets for the administration to go after first. But the funding would not be removed overnight.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I mean, just like there have been federal restraining orders to keep it in place until the litigation has played out on some of the other recent orders, I think probably the same thing would happen there. So I fully expect, knowing the school board as I do,
yes,
that they would fight it every step of the way.
I see that there's a pro-child abuse contingent that is trying to kind of fill the room tomorrow night in Fairfax County in order to push back against parents who want to introduce reason into this conversation. What can you tell us, Mark, about what to expect tomorrow night, and give people the details of how they can actually show up?
Okay. The community is not allowed to speak at the meeting, so they can only observe. But I think having people there at a meeting where people don't ordinarily show up will send a powerful message. The meeting is at the Fairfax County School headquarters, which is in the Merrifield area of Fairfax County, 8115 Gatehouse Road. And it's from 7 to 9 p.m. And I think there will probably be quite a turnout. So that's the logistics. For more information, I'd urge people, more detailed information about how to get in the building after hours and so on. I'd urge people to go to fairfaxschoolsmonitor.com and look at some of my recent posts.
Yeah, fairfaxschoolsmonitor.com. Mark, you have a great website. How long have you been running that website?
Well, about 3.5 years. I got involved for the first time in following what the school system is doing about 3.5 years ago during the gubernatorial campaign, when there were claims on one side, you're teaching critical race theory, no, we're not, yes, you are, and so on. And being retired, I thought I'll do some investigation and find out for myself what's going on. And the more I dug, the more concerned I got, and I decided to share what I find through Freedom of Information Act requests and otherwise with the public. So I set up this website, and I write periodical articles to keep people advised. And
when you're on your public records requests, does Fairfax County try and charge you a bunch of money when you ask for things?
Well, sometimes, yes. It depends on how sensitive they think it is. I don't have any beef with government entities charging a reasonable amount of money for requests, because otherwise, they could get, totally overwhelmed with frivolous requests. What they do is they estimate how long it would take to respond to a request, and they charge you at the rate of $35 an hour, which I don't find to be unreasonable. But I have found that sometimes they will make privilege claims where they aren't warranted and drag out the process somewhat. But the actual people who respond to the requests, I've had a pretty good track record in dealing with them.
Yeah. Well, thank you for reporting on all this and for staying in this fight. It's a big deal for so many parents. Mark, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, that meeting tomorrow of the Family Life Education Curriculum Advisory Committee set to take place at Fairfax County Public Schools headquarters starting at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Members of the public are welcome to attend. I hope you prevail in preventing this insanity from taking further hold inside these schools.
Well, I appreciate you giving some publicity to it.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Good talking to you.
That's
Bye.
Mark Spooner, FairfaxSchoolsMonitor.com. And his site is great. It's straight to the point, and it describes everything that's happening really crisply, which is always nice.